how are you? So, I have been in download central. I have been having spiritual epiphanies the last few days. So I have been missing in action, but hopefully, I'll be able to be a little bit more consistent moving forward. So, hi friends, how are you? Sorry, I know that's probably really annoying to listen to. So, welcome to day 4. So at this point, your cards should be on their way, and you should have investigated everything else. If you're just joining us and you have no idea what I'm talking about, and I just showed up on your For You page, I'm teaching people how to set up a successful spiritual business in 9 days or less. Teaching you all my tips and tricks and giving you all the shortcuts that I wish I had had. So here we are, day 4. So today we're going to talk about our money apps. We're going to talk about majority of the financial stuff today. We're going to talk about the importance of having a high yield savings account, how much to save for taxes. We are also going to be talking about LLC versus sole proprietorship. What else? We're also going to be talking about should you have a website? Should you do Linktree? Should you do Stand Store? And we're going to be talking about how to monetize on what I call the big 4, which for me, because I worked with, my husband has a close friend who actually did a deep dive on my website back when I had it, and kind of helped me identify like what are the most profitable apps and da-da-da-da. So for me, the big 4 is Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. The big one is YouTube, okay? TikTok, you're going to be able to grow quickly. But your real moneymaker, longevity, legacy, YouTube, okay? So we're going to be talking about that. And what else? And we're also going to talk about whether or not Etsy will be a good fit for you, okay? I know a lot of readers have readings up on Etsy. Anyway, we'll get into it. I'll save my rant about Etsy for later. But anyway, so to start things off, let's talk about your money apps. Now, these are going to be used when you are live on TikTok doing readings, when you are getting private readings, etc., etc. The typical ones to have, and when you're first starting out, the good ones to have is your basics: Cash App, have a Venmo, PayPal. Zelle is an awesome one because, baby, there's no fees. No fees. But here's the caveat when you're using Zelle to transfer money back and forth. First of all, it's only for American clients. Not everybody has it attached to their bank, so it's hit or miss if people have it. And when you get money sent to you from Zelle, there's nowhere for people to put their email or what reading they're getting or how to contact them. You just get money that you can't refund. And so you have to have, a really staunch portion on whatever you're using to promote yourself. All caps, because people don't read. Love y'all to death, but people get excited and they don't read instructions. And then they get mad at you. So you have to have a real big eyesore of a disclaimer, if you decide to use Zelle, although it is the most profitable and the easiest, that people got to send you an email or a text message, whatever you're comfortable with. So that's the thing with Zelle, is that if people use that, they have to do a follow-up contact. That's the only issue with Zelle. Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, those are the basic ones. I'm trying to think what else. Stripe. Stripe is the one that I use. I stopped using Cash App, Venmo, and PayPal because, y'all, the fees are crazy. I actually tallied up, either last year or the year before, I can't remember, but I tallied up how much I actually spent or what it cost me. in fees, and it was literally in the tens of thousands. So it's no joke when you are successful, and it's up to you whether you want to continue to use those. I'm a big fan of Stripe, because that is one transaction fee. That's it. PayPal used to get me 3 times because my website was through Squarespace. So Squarespace would take a cut, right, from a sale. Then PayPal would take a cut from that sale. And then if I needed to transfer the money immediately, if I didn't want to wait a week for my money to hit the bank, which normally I didn't, so I would just do the instant transfer, they got me a 3rd time. PayPal was the biggest culprit of spending an exorbitant amount of money just for them to handle my money. Ridiculous. So I stand firm behind, when you're first starting out, if you want to use Cash App, if you want to use Venmo and PayPal, because those are the most accessible ones, totally cool. Go for it. I myself would recommend only using Stripe. You may not get as many customers, but it's going to be a lot less painful for you moving forward. Okay. So I stand behind using Stripe 1000%. Stripe and Zelle. Those should be your go-tos, simply because they're going to save you a lot of money. That's my 2 cents on it, but you do you. Taxes. You got to file taxes. You have to, okay? I know a lot of readers out there, they only accept donation readings on PayPal specifically, friends and family, and they'll refund you if you do it as a service. And the reason they do that is they don't want to get caught up by the IRS. So personally, I find the IRS absolutely fucking terrifying. So file your taxes, please, okay? Now, the way that I do it is I use QuickBooks Small Business. QuickBooks has 7 million apps. Very specifically, QuickBooks Small Business QuickBooks. It's an app you put on your phone, you hook it up to your bank info, and it tracks everything for you. All you gotta do every day, once a week, whenever, don't let it pile up on you though. You've got to go in, and I know this is tax deductible because this was for my business, this was personal, this was personal, this personal, business, personal. That's all you have to do. That's it. And then when you're ready to file, you go to QuickBooks, file taxes, and QuickBooks is attached to TurboTax. So when you go to file, you go into your QuickBooks app, it'll take you to TurboTax, and it imports all of that information. Your taxes be done, babe. They're done. And I always opt for the audit protection from TurboTax. I always do the added, I have one of their accredited accountants look through my stuff because I want to make sure my stuff is on the up and up. And I have not been audited. So and there was a couple of years where I was making good money. So, and I have not been audited. So strongly suggest spring in for the extra stuff that TurboTax offers. The bigger you get, the more money you're making once you start getting into, I would say, the 50K plus a year bracket. You're going to want to hire an accountant. You're going to want to hire a bookkeeper. Simply because, yes, it's an expense, but it's tax deductible, number one. Number two, it's that added layer of protection from big, bad, scary daddy IRS, okay? So, now with that being said, let's move. This is going to be a 2-parter video, sorry guys. With that being said, I want to talk a little bit how much you should be saving for taxes, because this was a mistake that I made. Thinking, oh, well, I'm making money, I'll make it back, no worries. And then I got smacked with that $17,000 tax bill. Still paying that bitch off. So, do as I say, not as I did. And it's going to hurt at first because you're like, oh, I really need that money. Don't do it, girl, boy, person. Like I said, don't do it, okay? Do not. You need to save 30% of whatever you make, and 30% is going to cover you for both state and federal. I think technically you only need to save like 15 and then 8% or something like that, depending on where you live. Save 30, okay? Because then, that's going to cover your tax prep. That's going to cover TurboTax or an accountant, H&R Block, whatever. It's going to cover all those extra fees for you, okay? 30%. So at the end of every day, I would do this. At the end of every day, you need to go through and look at what money came in, even if it's $3, okay? You need to put 30% into your savings account. So with that being said, let's get into the different accounts that I think you should have, that I wish I had had when I first started. So as you are first starting, you really only need one other checking account. I recommend having at least 3 at 3 different banks, but that's later on after you've been doing business for yourself for a while, okay? Start out with 1. I also want you to have a high yield savings account. Important, high yield savings account. I use a bank called SoFi. And I use that one because it is recommended by our queen, our reigning financial TikTok champion queen herself, financial feminist, Tori Dunlap. I've got her book right there. So she recommended using the bank SoFi for their high yield savings account. Do it, okay? So you're going to go on SoFi.com and you're going to look up, and you're going to open a checking account. You're also going to open a high yield savings account, okay? That's mandatory. You need that aside from your regular checking, okay? Now, as we get further along, maybe I'll do like an updated one where like once you're making your living, once you're making, 30 plus K a year, then we'll get into like different, all the bank accounts that you should have, in my opinion. So, but let's start there, okay? So that's homework. You need to go to SoFi. You need to open it up, a new checking account and a high yield savings, okay? Now, 30% every day of whatever you make, I don't care if it's 3 cents or $3,000, 30% goes into a savings account. I don't care. I don't really care if it's the high yield. I don't really care if it, I actually would recommend not using the high yield for your taxes. That should be your own separate regular savings account, okay? And you don't touch it. Don't, girl, trust me. Don't touch it, okay? No matter how bad shit gets, do not. So anyway, so that's taxes, right? Where was I? Hang on. So you got your 30% over in the taxes, okay? I then want you to start out with 5%, but try and move it up to at least 20% of whatever you make, and put that in a your regular savings account, okay? Rainy day fund, all right? And then the rest, I would split it. I would split the rest between half goes into like the SoFi checking, just to have a little extra cushion in case it's there, in case you need it, okay? And then the rest you can move over into your regular checking account. That's for bills, your DoorDash expenses, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So start there. I have several bank accounts and several checking/savings. I have some high yield. I have some that are regular. I have a business banking account through Bank of America, but then I have accounts through Capital One, SoFi, et cetera, et cetera. But let's stick with the basics for now, okay? Get a high yield. That's where you're going to put your 5 to 10% for rainy day, okay, in case shit happens, right? And then you're going to have your savings account. The tax savings account can just be through your regular bank. It doesn't have to be anything special because that money is going to be coming out with, probably within a year. if not sooner. Now, once you start making, just as a little side note, once you start making, I believe it's more than 10,000. So a considerable amount, right? If you're making a considerable amount from your business, you're going to want to file taxes quarterly. It's going to seem like a pain in the ass, like, oh my God, Brie, doing taxes 4 times a year. It's going to save you. It's going to be a lot less of a burden, a lot less of a financial bear if you are paying them quarterly instead of once a year. You don't technically have to, but it is highly, highly, highly recommended once you're making, I would say, more than 10K a year, okay? So, to recap, okay? We have our regular checking, we have our regular savings, okay? This is for our personal stuff, our bills, and this is your tax savings account. Then I want you to go over to SoFi. You're going to open up another checking account there, and you're going to open up specifically a high yield savings. This SoFi high yield savings is where you're going to put your 5 to 10% after you take out taxes, okay, from that money. And then I would split the remainder profit between your regular checking account, right? Your spending, your bills, et cetera, your personal stuff. So let's say it's 500 is left over after you do taxes and the 5 to 10% for your rainy day fund. Let's say it's 500. Put 250 in your SoFi checking, and the other 250 goes into your regular bank account, okay? We're setting ourselves up for success here. These are things that I wish I had known. These are things that I wish I had done for myself, that somebody had been like, Brie, you really need to set yourself up for success, okay? You need to have nest eggs around so that if shit ever goes down, you're not completely destitute, okay? So please listen to me on this. Please, 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 please. Please do this for yourself. Please protect yourself, okay? So real quick, I want to touch on, should I have a website? Should I not? To be perfectly honest, you don't need a website. Unless you are hosting several different tiers of membership. You've got all of these different you're doing a blog and you're doing a podcast and you're doing this. And, you know, if you have like a lot of content that you want to have as a landing page, yes, absolutely have a website. You don't need one, and they're expensive. I had the full premium package for Squarespace. That shit cost me like $300 or $400 a month, not including my domain and my my business emails, because I had to pay Google extra to have like at universalempressacademyllc.com. And so it adds up really fast. And to be honest, I was not utilizing any of it. I didn't need any of it for the work that I do, because I wasn't doing a blog, I wasn't doing a podcast, none of that. So you don't need it. And it's an extra expense. So I would scrap the whole website thing until you're much further along in your spiritual career, okay? Now, Linktree, Stand Store, for the most part, are going to be your two mains. Hello. Your two mains, okay? That you can kind of pick and choose from. To be fair, I've never paid for the Linktree Pro, but I did buy in to the Stand Store premium subscription, which is like $100 a month. Now, that's going to seem like a lot, and you don't need it when you first start out. You do not need it. Stand Store, in my opinion, allows for growth, for when you want to grow into doing all of those things that a website can do. For me, and from what I've seen, what I've researched, Stand Store is a much better option because it allows for growth, okay? Linktree reps, feel free to take me apart, but from what I have seen, Stand Store is awesome. In another video, we'll talk about funnels and for marketing and that sort of thing. And that's why I do the Stand Store $100 a month, is for the marketing funnels. Anyway, you don't need it. All you need is the free version of Linktree when you first start out. Don't get tempted into paying more than you should be. So There's so many parts here. Anyway, if you're watching on TikTok, this is like split up into multiple parts. So now I want to talk about business formation. Okay. So you've got your name and you think that this is the name that you want to have for a while. You're making enough money that you're really ready to be official and to have a fully fledged business, right? So then the question becomes, do I do LLC or do I do a sole proprietorship? I opted to go for LLC because it was a simpler process and it was going to save me more on taxes as opposed to doing a sole proprietorship. So from my understanding, from when I spoke to the businessy person that I spoke to, the expert, they said when you're first starting out, LLC is really easy, simple, easy to understand, easy to navigate, and solid. Okay. As you get bigger, you may want to reconsider moving into a sole proprietorship. So that's how it was explained to me. So I chose LLC. I went through a company called Zen Business. Not affiliated. I'm not affiliated with anybody. Nobody knows who I am. So I went through a company called Zen Business. Highly recommend. It costs me, I think, complete, total, stem to stern business formation with the filing and everything, right? And I live in the state of Oregon, so it might be different, wherever you guys are. I believe it cost me about $500 stem to stern to get that going. Again, that is something you don't really need to worry about, but it is something that is tossed around a lot, like when it comes to entrepreneurship. And I don't want y'all to feel pressured to immediately start an LLC or a sole proprietorship. I just wanted you to have the information on what I did, so that if that's something you want to look into in the future, there you go. Okay. LLC, I used Zen Business, and it was really easy, really simple. Okay. A little on the spendy side, and then every year you're going to have to renew your business license. So there's that. Okay. Don't get stuck in that right now. I just kind of wanted to have that in the back of your brain, something to start something to start thinking about as you progress, as you start to get more clients, and as you start to get busier, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. So, let's talk about monetization. So for TikTok, you need 1,000 followers to go live, and then you can start making money from your Cash App, your Venmo, Stripe, whatever it is that you choose to use. Okay. 1,000 followers to go live. Here in the US, and I don't know if this applies to anywhere else in the world, but I know here in the US, to be a part of the Creator Fund, for TikTok to pay you to monetize your content, you need 10,000 followers, and then you can apply to become monetized. Okay. Real talk. This TikTok is not your moneymaker. Just keeping it real. Okay. It's not your moneymaker. Your moneymaker is YouTube. But, monetization on YouTube is no joke. It takes about, I would expect somebody to be able to do it. I know people have done it really fast. It took me a year, but I was pretty hit or miss with it. I was not very consistent. It took me about a year. I have seen people do it in 6 months, but that's balls to the wall, doing nothing, eating, breathing YouTube. Okay. Pumping out content like you've never seen in your life. YouTube, I believe it is, you need 5,000 watch hours. So if you have a video that's 5 minutes long and people are only watching 45 seconds to a minute and a half of it, you can see why it takes so long to get monetized, right? especially if you're slowly building a following, and it is a lot harder. YouTube makes you put in the work, but once you do, they pay you very well. Okay? So, worth the effort. I just don't want anybody to expect to be monetized on YouTube overnight. If that happens for you, fabulous. Congratulations. You beat the system. You beat the algorithm. Not saying it's not possible. It definitely is. But it's very rare, okay? Like literally 1 in a million. So I just don't want anyone to be afraid of the slow progress that you may see on YouTube when it comes to monetization. It's worth it in the end. So the way to kind of get around that is you're going to have a spike in growth on TikTok. TikTok is amazing for pumping out new creators. They love to do that, okay? So you're going to get a chunk of a following pretty quickly, especially if you're very consistent with your content. So as you're growing your TikTok and you're getting close to being able to go live, you're getting close to those 1,000 followers, that same content, reposting. So you're only filming one set of videos, okay, per day, per week, whatever it is that you're doing. Taking those same videos and putting them on your YouTube, okay? And I wouldn't do much more than that with YouTube at first, okay? Just use it as a place to repost your content, all right? Same for Instagram and Facebook. So on Facebook, you need to set up a business page. On Instagram, you can set up a business account if you want. I don't. I just have a regular personal Instagram account. Because Instagram and Facebook are under Meta now, formerly Facebook, it's under this just kind of like this umbrella called Meta. And so the monetization requirements are the same. You need 10,000 follows on each account in order to monetize your content. I am not monetized on Facebook or Instagram because I've been so hit or miss with those apps over the years. So I can't tell you whether it's worth it or not, but maybe someday I'll be able to check back in and be like, yeah, y'all, it's worth it. But I want you to be reposting the content, okay? Some people are all about TikTok. Some people are all about Facebook. Some people, they're all about YouTube, all about Instagram, and that's their app, right? Well, if you're only posting your content on TikTok and YouTube, but you've got a chunk of a following waiting to find you over on Instagram, you're effing yourself, okay? So I want you to spread all the content far and wide. When it comes to Facebook and Instagram, I would also encourage you to do a written post, so taking some pictures of cards and doing a written post. Meta really likes it when you do that, okay? It'll bump you up in the algorithm. So that's pretty much how monetization works, okay? Those are the basics. Now, when you are able to monetize on YouTube, it's through Google. And so at that point, you should have something akin to like a blog. It can be totally free. You can do Wix or WordPress or, whatever. Use Blogger, I don't care. But the reason why you want that is because once you're monetized on YouTube, you can then monetize your Google, your website through Google. And depending on how many people click on your website, you can run ads and you get a couple extra bucks at the end of the month that will be paid out to you with your YouTube monetization money, if that makes sense. Okay. So lastly for this day, I want to go over Etsy. So I believe it was day 3 where I was really harping on the empire and having a vision for the different things, the different services, different products that you want to create. I do not recommend using Etsy as a place to market your readings because Etsy is so saturated with tarot readers. There are readers over there offering readings for $1, for $3. Fucking excuse me? I don't care if you're brand new. $3? What? Giving readings is wonderful and amazing, but it does zap your energy because you're essentially translating light, you're doing light transmission. Energetically, that's not free. Definitely should have split all this information up into separate days. Sorry, y'all. Anyway, so I do not recommend using Etsy as a way to market your readings. And it is well known that Etsy takes a considerable amount through the transaction percentages that you make. Now, when you first start out, you're probably not going to want to be doing physical products of any kind because you're busy. You're busy creating content. You're trying to get monetized. You're trying to, call in a collective. You're trying to find your people, your niche, all of that. So you're probably not going to want to be creating physical products. And that's fine. That is something you can lean into down the road, okay? That is a part of the empire, passive income, okay? So while we're on the subject, though, I do encourage using Etsy as a place to upload PDFs that people can just print off, okay? Digital downloads. That is what you should have up on Etsy. This can be, if you're witchy, it can be spell work, papers. This can be tarot, journal, spreads. You can come up with your, creatively, you can come up with your own tarot spreads and just kind of link them together, and you could sell, 10. You put 10 of these tarot spreads in a little bundle and people can pay $1 for it. I don't really care about the low price point when it comes to digital downloads because it's stuff you're only doing once and then it just sits there and it is completely passive income, okay? So that I do want you to look into. So when it comes to creating PDFs, digital downloads, which I absolutely did not know how to do, Canva saved my life, okay? Now you want Canva. You don't need the pro version right away, but you want Canva for your thumbnails. You want for your YouTube thumbnails. You want Canva to be able to create, teeny little videos for your Instagram reels. It is amazing. It is such an amazing resource. It makes everything so easy and simple for creators. Where were we before Canva? I don't know, but you need Canva, okay? Now, roll back to, I think, like day 1 or 2, when I was talking about creating your own decks, having that as like a little side project, passive income, right? You create your cards on Canva. You don't need an iPad anymore. You don't need an iPad with the thing, the stylus anymore. You used to, right? That was how people used to do like digital illustrations. You don't need that anymore. It's right there on Canva. You got a phone? You can run a friggin' business, okay? So that's what I would recommend. I would recommend starting up an Etsy store with the name that you've chosen, just so nobody can steal it, okay? And uploading PDFs of some sort. It's going to be up to you how you want to do it, and what you want to offer. Obviously, depends on your niche, okay? But so I do recommend having an Etsy store for passive income only. I would not recommend putting your readings on there. Y'all, the fees are just too much. And you're going to see, the further along you get, just how bad the fee situation is. Because at the end of the month, when you're doing your taxes, when you're doing your QuickBooks swiping, and if you take a minute to add up how much the fees were, you're going to be shocked. It's like, oh, well, that's $5,000 that I definitely could have used. Yeah, I'm serious. Okay. So, so I think that's where I'm going to leave it for day 4. It was a lot of information. So let's recap a little bit. So for homework, you should have already come up with a name, right? I'm going to throw one more thing in at you. I'm sorry. When you're ready to have a legitimate website, I want you have to get the domain. And it's a very technical, pain in the friggin' butt process. Give yourself 3 to 4 hours. That's how long it took me to just get the domain and get all of that set up, okay? You're going to go on GoDaddy.com, and let's say that the name is Universal Empress Academy for shits and giggles, okay? And you're going to go on GoDaddy or any other domain host, right? And you're going to type in your name, and it's going to tell you if it's available or not. I personally, because it's not expensive, it's a few bucks a year, I would buy up any version of the name that you've chosen. Anything that's close to it, because you don't want anybody scamming people. And so I would splurge a little and spend some money on snapping up all those domains. Okay. Yeah, that's where I'm going to leave it for now, because I could just keep talking, but I want to split it up more into chunks so that it's more digestible. So, you're going to get your money apps. You're going to decide which ones you want to use, okay? You can start out with all of them, see which one is more successful. So that's your PayPal, that's your Cash App, that is your Venmo, your Stripe, your Zelle, whatever it is that you're choosing to use, okay? You're going to get all of those set up, ready to go. Then you're going to go over and you're going to open up at least a checking and a high yield savings account over at SoFi, okay? SoFi. Then you're going to decide, do I want Linktree? Do I want a Stand Store? My advice is to start out with the free version of Linktree. Start there. And then once you get some money coming in, then you can start to look into what you want to use moving forward. Okay. Start out with the free version though. Website, unless you are a hardcore writer and you think that you are going to be writing a blog post every couple of days, unless that's you, skip the website for now, okay? But if having a blog is really, really central to what you are trying to create and you're excited to start doing the blog, right? Start writing articles, great, fabulous, fantastic. In that case, do something cheap like Wix or WordPress. It doesn't have to be anything. Don't waste money when you're first starting out on this stuff is basically what I'm trying to get down to, okay? Don't waste your money like I did. So then when you feel comfy, kind of throw, in the back of your brain, okay, I think I'm ready to start researching an LLC or a sole proprietorship. I recommend using Zen Business. If that changes in the future, if I ever have an LLC again, I will let you guys know what company I use if it's different. But for right now, Zen Business all the way. Okay. And it's up to you when you want to start that. And then the rest is just monetization, and that's just consistency. Reposting all of your content. So you want to make sure you got your Facebook page, your Instagram, your YouTube, your TikTok. I also recommend having several backup accounts for TikTok because you will get flagged for no friggin' reason. And having a backup account that has your backup content is not going to hurt. So that's what I would do there. I would also set up an Etsy store. Just set it up. You don't have to have anything in there. Just have it ready to go. Snatch up the name of your business. Okay. So that's your homework. It's a lot of admin stuff. It's a lot of background shenanigans, but it will be worth it in the end for y'all. Okay. So that's what I have for you for day 4, the money stuff. And I will see you tomorrow for day 5.